All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 24th day of June, 2019. Well, if it's your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for coming by and click subscribe. I'd love you to do that and join our Tarot and Rune family as we explore the interpretations of the cards and the runes, how they affect our daily life. And so far, what we've been seeing is a trend away from division and hate and separation and looking at everyone as the other and more toward the realization that really everyone is the other side of self, that we're all here together, little points of source energy. The creator expresses into form so that the creator can know more about what all of this interaction brings and just the whole picture of all of it. I know we look separate, but we're not. So I think that we're starting to see a rejection of all of the isms and the division and separation and all of that we've been experiencing, quite intensely of late. It just seems like there's just been this groundswell of all this negativity and hostility and seeing everyone as the enemy and not wanting to cooperate or have a shared purpose. And I think that what the runes and the cards are saying is that our true purpose, our true nature is that, and that we have to reflect that going forward. It's really the only thing we can do, because at the end of the day, what happens? Excuse me. We come back together. You look at when disaster strikes. I don't care if you don't like your neighbor or not. If a tornado comes through, you're going to help them. They're going to help you. It's just the way it is. So it just almost seems like when, the caca hits the fan, so to speak, we figure it out. And that may be what's going on here. Maybe the intensity of watching what's happening to the migrants on the border, maybe all of the lying that's going on, maybe all of these things, people are starting to feel so uneasy that they're like, maybe we need to come together here and figure this out. So I think that that's just what happens. I think it's like the Degas moment, of the new day. Degas is the 23rd rune of the Elder Futhark, although some people put it as the 24th. And the thing about that is you're looking at, and I love this interpretation, and I don't remember where I found it. It might have been in, oh gosh, what was that guy's name? Tyriel? He wrote a book on runes. That's a really cool book. If you can get that, that's a really interesting book. Lots of different, it's by the guy's name is Tyriel, Tyriel. And I can't remember right offhand the name of it, but I'll get it for you. That's a really interesting rune book. And it may have been in there that I saw it. Energy at its saturation point becomes its opposite. So maybe we have reached the saturation point of all this hate and all these isms and all of this. It's awful, isn't it, to feel it? And now we're starting to become the opposite and going back into the new day and going back into enlightenment and back into truth of who we truly are. So that may be the flow of energy that we're actually witnessing right now on a grander scale, And individually, you realize that when you start to reject something that you once thought or a belief you had, when you just wake up one day or come to this slow realization, maybe however you get there, right? But you get to this moment where you realize it's like, wow, that's not true at all. And you know what the real truth is. And so I think, that's also a Degas moment as well, where enlightenment is just, you can't ignore it any longer. And I really think that that's what, I really think that that's what's, maybe happening here. I saw this clip of an older man being interviewed, and he was talking about the families at the border and the children. And something about, I know you guys all expect us all to get so teary-eyed about all this, but, the parents should know better than to bring them here. It's their responsibility. Okay, well, on the one hand, he makes a point, but he ignores the reality of where they're coming from. If you're a mom who was so terrified for your children that you were willing to trust someone to take them over a border into a new life because you think that's what will happen for them, you don't realize what's really going to happen to them now, but that's what you do. And you're so terrified, you don't know what else to do. Maybe you come with them, you know, maybe you make that 1,000-mile trek, because you think you're going to be welcomed. You're afraid to stay where you are. So on the one hand, you can say, oh, sure, well, the parents ought to know better. But on the other hand, it ignores the reality that these people live with on a daily basis. And I think that what you're seeing now is the effects of everything has basically, it's another Degas moment, isn't it? It's just whatever's happening in their world, in their reality, in their life is so horrible that they have to go. So it's reached its saturation point, and now it's becoming the opposite as they make that choice to make that trek up here. And we're doing what to them? At the very least, even if you don't feel that they can come into the country, that we just can't do that for them, even if you believe that way, can't we at least show some compassion and give them a frickin' toothbrush and not leave babies to die? See, that's really what's happening. And I suspect that hearts are realizing that there, but for the grace of God, go I. Really. But where is that grace now? See, I think we're starting to see a shift back to that. And again, it's not necessarily that you have 2 gazillion people on your border and you say, oh, sure, come on in. There has to be but you see, the United States government has gone all of these years and not dealt with the immigration thing, not effectively. So, but here's the thing. If each of us is the other side of self, then they're family. Do you do this to family? Or do you try to find at least a humane way of dealing with things? That's all anyone's really asking. It's just don't hurt the children. Don't hurt the families. Don't separate them. Don't hurt people. Because the level of hurt that is happening, well, we can't undo it now. Anyhow, let's get started and see if we're going to see the same trend this week. It's beginning today. See, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I take the 13th card each time. I like this to be random. I'm either going to do 3 or 4 cards, and then we'll do a rune, and then I'll put together a geomancy rune as sort of an overall tying things together, or maybe just an outlier that we need to pay attention to. Well, today we have the Magician. What are we going to manifest? We see the depiction of as above, so below. He's holding a scroll to spirit, a lemniscate above his head, showing the cyclical nature of life. He's pointing to earth or to form. He's got a lovely garland above his head. You see abundance and fertility. You see all of his tools. You see the sword or the athame, that's air. You see the wand for fire. You see the chalice for cups, that's our emotions. The wand is our will, our creativity, how we manifest. The sword is our intellect. You see the pentacle over there, which is elemental earth or physical form. You see the lilies, used for purity. You see the roses. We come into this life as an expression of love by the Creator. And the Magician is about that alchemical process of that focus into form. He pairs with the High Priestess. And then the whole process is completed by the Empress as she's basically Mother Earth. She's Gaia, she's the goddess. She's about fertility. She takes a consort, which is the Emperor. And together, they create life. But that's the order in which it is. Now, if you look at it in an esoteric fashion, you might look at it as the Great Mother breathing out on the exhale, life as we know it. And in that regard, we're thought to be resting in the Great Mother's breath until she decides to inhale us all back and sleep for a time and start all over again, whatever capacity she determines at that time. But it was done out of a sense of longing, and it was done out of a sense of love. So everything is essentially a projection of the Great Mother's consciousness, isn't it? We see the Fool as card 0 of the major arcana, taking that leap of faith into form through the abyss. The Magician and the High Priestess creating that whole process. Let's see what the next card we have here, see what it has to say. But you see, we get here and it's a choice. How do we manifest? Are we going to manifest in service to self or in service to others? Well, we have a 6 energy today, and we also have the 6 of Pentacles, which is shared abundance. You see balance there with the scales. He has more than he needs, and he's sharing it, isn't he? The 6 is an interesting number. The 6 is about higher self-presence. It's about harmony and inclusion and interaction and all of that. But there's an element there of higher self-presence. You see that grow with the 8, which brings in more leadership skills and all of that. But at the same time, you're really able to see the greater unified presence and experience that. But you begin doing so with the 6, I think. The 4 is about foundation and structure. It's also about having a timeout or respite. But it's about bringing everything together in organization, really, creating the foundation of everything. But then you move on to the 6, and now you're starting to see more harmony and the effects of all of that, of the 4, basically. You have the effect of the 4. And here, instead of being miserly about everything, you understand that you have what you need, you might as well share it. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean money. You could share of your time, you could share of your heart, you could share of, an interaction with somebody, but you're basically sharing yourself. So there's lots of ways to do that. It doesn't have to involve funds, although in this case, in this card it is. But wealth is a lot of things. It's not just money. Let's do a 3rd card. We're doing pretty well on time here. Well, here we have the High Priestess. So again, the 2nd card of the major arcana, or card 2, actually the 3rd, if you count the Fool as the 1st, even though it's card 0. But here we have the Pillars of Solomon. And I'm going to look up what that is, if I can find my paper here. Well, hang on here a second. The B stands for Boaz. And is it Joaquin or something? Is the J. But what they represent are the Pillars of Solomon, anyway. Okay, that's not it. Let's see if it's under this. Okay, maybe it's on here. Yes, in fact, it's right on the top here. I had it open just in case I screwed up the name. Joaquin, Boaz, and Joaquin, Jachin. So however you pronounce that one, that's what those pillars represent. I'm just going to leave that out here, just in case I need to check something else. Instead, I had it all buried over there. So anyhow, let's get the cards now. So anyhow, what we have here with the High Priestess, you see, in fact, I'm going to set these back down because I'm going to need both hands. So you've got the 2 pillars. So they can either represent, it's a running theme in tarot anyway, the pillars. And you can either see them as two trees or maybe two towers or what have you, or two rock faces, but it's the notion of going between something. So you're either looking at it in terms of a new doorway into new experiences, and that's typically what the high priestess is showing here. You see, and I talked about this the other day because we drew this last week. You see the pomegranates behind her? These. They're actually arranged in terms of the same shape as the tree of life. And let me get that, and I will show you what I was talking about that the other day as well. Here, where she sits on the tree of life is this right here, right? This one line right here, this one channel. That's where the high priestess sits on the tree of life. Okay, and right here is where the empress sits. And this is the abyss. This is the demarcation line for the abyss. And so you can see how the magus or the magician is over here. And then you see how the high priestess, goes down into the abyss. And so that's where you take the alchemical aspects of the magician together with the high priestess and creates the form that goes through the abyss. Anyway, so you've got a coup, which is about balance and polarity. And we talk about polarity typically in terms of masculine and feminine, but that's just on the horizontal plane. We're not talking about who we are as spirit versus form, which is the vertical axis, okay? And somehow or another, in the center of that, we're supposed to all sort of make sense, right? Well, we forget that we're spirit, and so that blows everything out of the water. Well, if you look here on the front of her gown, you can see the cross. You also see in her headdress the triple goddess, the three aspects, the maiden, mother, and crone of the moon. You see that? So you see everything is in balance. You see the maiden form of the moon down below. She has her foot resting on that. She has the Torah, that's the book of knowledge, representing knowledge, spiritual knowledge. In her lap, she's holding it there. I love the colors of this card. You see dark and light. So you're seeing a balance that's not simply a polarity that is, or a polarity that is not simply horizontal, but also vertical as well. And in the center is where we are, hopefully. And hopefully we're keeping all of those things in balance. But the thing is actually the balance needs to be heavier weighted on spirit, because we've gotten so far out of control in our lives that, with patriarchy and getting very confused about what compassion is. It's like I keep seeing these little memes of well, Jesus would have given them toothbrushes, and he would have, had they had them back then. I don't know what they had back then. They were likely didn't pay any attention to any of that back then, but maybe they did. I don't know. But anyway, it has to do with balancing the polarity. I'm going to do a fourth card. I probably shouldn't. I should probably stop right here and go on to the rune, but I'm going to do a fourth card just to be sure here. But basically what we're looking at, we've got 3, we've got 6, we've got 9. So there's a 9 energy here with the cards, and that's completion. And realistically, I think I'm going to stop with that card. It's telling me it's completion. So I'm not going to do a fourth card. But what we have here, and I'll just hold them up. And if you can see the energy flow here. Oh, and that's another theme we've had. One week I did 4 cards and I had queens on either side. And then I think last week I had, again, 2 majors on either side, although they could have gone in the middle and had the other 2 cards on the outside. But we seem to be almost couching everything in something that's significant, right? And here you've got higher self talking about what we're going to manifest, shared abundance, keeping all of, and we do that because mind, body, spirit is in balance with masculine and feminine energies, correct? So again, we're continuing that push to, if you will, where are my runes? There they are. We're continuing that push, if you will, that focus or that refocus to understanding the shared purpose in life that we have together. We may all be on our own individual paths, but to think that we don't have a soul group that incarnates with us, of course we do. And the number of people that we encounter, whether it's our families or even random people on the street, all of them are part of our soul group. And they're part of our experience that we all decided to have together before we incarnated into form. So I think that at this point, we can't look at each other in any other way now. We might not always get along, but that's the whole point of it, isn't it? That even out of disparate voices, some shared purpose can be found. We don't always have to agree. We shouldn't. How does innovation happen if everybody just always agrees? There's got to be somebody that goes, hey, wait a minute, I have another idea here. And then everybody's like, either, okay, let's hear it, or, oh, no, we don't want to know. We want to stay in our little box and never come out. Well, that's not invoking the Nathes within the 10th rune of the Elder Futhark. So basically, you want that inner friction. We just don't want it compromising the shared purpose or the shared understanding that we are each other's other side of self. That's all. And here we have Perthro. Perthro is one of the directional runes of the Elder Futhark. I can see I was digging in the dirt with my fingernails this morning, planting those Chinese lantern plants. The woes of an herbalist. Anyway, going down, you're spilling into earth or into form. This denotes the past. It can also denote death. This can denote the unknown or birth. This is a cauldron, basically. So Perthro is one of those that you can utilize in bind runes in a variety of ways. Just depends on what your intention is. I don't choose my runes. I let them fall through my hand and set my intention first, and then I just start pulling runes, and they're always right. So if I had pulled Perthro, I might use it as maybe the bottom of a bind rune. If I'm trying to get energy maybe to go up towards spirit or something, then that might be how I might utilize it. But in this case, it's, I'll turn it right. There we go. We're talking the fate. It represents the three fates, or the three Norns of fate. It represents the unknown. It can represent, again, birth. It could be thought of as the cup from which dice are tossed or the runes are cast. But I believe it's a rune of changes, as the 14th rune of the Elder Futhark. It does have an energy of change, a 5 energy. So fate, birth, the womb. Oh, yes, it can represent the womb. The well of word also. As a cauldron, it can also represent the well of word, W-Y-R-D, the well of the unknown. That's the well that was beneath the world tree, the Yggdrasil, where Odin hung upside down, and then the fates are around the well. Well, anyway, so that's what that is. Represents time and change, evolving magical ideas, understanding the unknown, mystery of fate. Another thing which was thought of back in the day, the power of the Norns to guide men's fate or to choose men's fate. I don't know that's a relevant interpretation now, because we all choose our own fate, basically. But I think but what it's understanding is a little bit about cause and effect. And again, Perthro, because of its directional nature, going in all directions, it basically represents this cross that we see on the high priestess, because it's basically talking about both the energies of the horizontal plane and finding balance between them, and also on the vertical plane. So it's about synchronicity. Sometimes when it comes up in a reading, it just could mean that a child's going to be born. Maybe someone's pregnant, and a new energy is coming into life. That the goddess has decided to focus in once again. Let's do a geomancy rune. Now, I do these geomancy readings once a month. Sometimes I do them more often. I also do a tarot reading at the beginning of each month at the same time. So you can get an idea at the beginning of each month what these things look like. Ultimately, though, when I do those, I put them in the form of what's called a shield chart. And each time, see, I throw the first 4. You can see where it says 1, 2, 3, 4. This thing read from right to left. And then boxes 1 and 2 create box 9, boxes 3 and 4 create box 10, and on and on and on, right? You're basically combining single dots and dual dots to create another glyph. Well, you do them just to create each glyph, but then you start doing a little bit of combination work on your own. So you're basically only throwing these 4 times when you do a shield drop, and from there it's just combinations in your creations. These are put in the order of fire, air, water, and earth. And then we just see from there, see there's fire, yeah. We've got a dual dot for fire, 1 for air, 1 for, oh, cool. Okay, 1 for water and 2 for earth. So let me draw that out for you. We have not seen this one before since I started doing these. I don't know why I did it one day. I just did it. I just did a geomancy rune, and I've just been doing them ever since. This is called conjunctio. Now, conjunctio is about union or joining. We had Carcer last week, and that's the opposite of it. When you draw it out, it's the opposite of it. But and that's about self-imprisonment or imprisonment by others or what have you. But this is joining or conjunctio, union, unity. Last time for Carcer, what you would have, you have a single dot here and a single dot here and dual dots here and here, which kind of looks like a little prison almost. But here you have joining. It's the 2 dots in the center, the single dots. A single dot is an active presence, and so it's an initiative presence. The dual dot is a passive presence, and so it's just one where you go along with the crowd. But here we're initiating joining. So it's a conscious choice to come together in unity and in shared purpose. So I would say that, yeah, we are definitely continuing that Degas moment where we are ending one way of belief, one way of thinking, one way of doing things, and we're getting back to where we need to go and back again on that road to shared purpose. So, well, cool. That's not bad for a Monday, is it? Well, if you're going to do any magic today, you can focus on femininity and cycles and intuition, maybe do a little meditation. A nice thing to do every day before you start your day is to just go inward before you get up and visualize yourself as an energy, as like a sphere of energy. And then you can then visualize all of the energetic connections you established the day before, and you can just watch them dissolve. Just choose to let them all dissolve and start anew. And when you do that, you whatever is left, you just draw back to you because it's your energy, it's your focus. Even if you're responding to someone else, you are creating an energetic channel to that individual or to a thought pattern or to a situation or what have you. Everything's thought anyway. So, you're basically sending out all these energetic feelers everywhere. And if you don't detach from them, if you can't let go of something, if something's upsetting you and it just sticks with you, you ruminate all day long on it, that's your cue to know that you have an energetic channel that you've got to something, and you can actually dissolve that through visualization work and just see it. Some people call it cutting cords. I don't like that expression. I just feel that if you just look at them as channels of energy, you can just see them. You can color them any way you want, and then you can just see them dissolve. If you need to connect again, you can. It's not that you're cutting things off. I don't like that feeling. So what I do is I just draw back all of my energy, let it all dissolve, draw back what's left, and then I can start my day. I don't know. It works for me, so you might try it in any event. It helps to stay in balance. There's a lot of worrying going on right now, a lot of upset, a lot of fear. So it's no wonder that we're trying to come back together with one another, safety in numbers and all that, But at the same time, families have been challenged, interactions with others have been challenged over the last 3 or 4 years. The political voice is so strong now that I had to laugh. It isn't funny actually, but I had to laugh when I read how the we're having a little bit of a coup in our Oregon legislature right now. We have I guess you have to have a quorum of 20 legislators to have a session, and they wanted to talk about climate change, and they wanted to talk about, I don't know if it had to do with cap and trade or what. Some people feel that that this is not going to help the rural areas. I have no idea. I haven't been following it. So what the Republicans who do, there's less Republicans than there are. I think there's 18 Democrats and I don't know how many Republicans, less than that. So we needed two of them just to have a quorum, just so we could have a vote, right? Well, odds are, with the Democrats holding the floor and the numbers, then it's going to pass, right? So what they chose to do was leave town. Some of them left the state. I read some of them went to Utah. One of them is actually from Bend, just the town next to me. So he's my representative there. I of course didn't vote for him, but he's my representative from this area, and he's not there. I don't know if he went to Utah with everybody else or if he just came back to Bend. I don't know what the heck he did, but I hope it gets voted out this next time because this is not okay. You stay. You speak your mind. You try to change minds. If you honestly think that this is not the thing to do, then say so. Speak your truth. Give your facts. Convince people, but don't leave town. Because if you do that, then you're saying to the people that voted for you, I just don't think I'm going to do my job today. And then get this, supposedly militias getting involved? Are you kidding me? We had enough of that in Malheur when that stuff happened. See, I live in Central Oregon, and I live about, maybe, I don't know, a couple hours away from Burns. And Malheur is just not far from Burns. And so the town got terrorized. It was just a big mess, right? And this went on, right, for what, a couple of months? Or I don't even know how long it went on. It went on for a ridiculous amount of time. And one man died. I mean, it was just nutty. They should have shut it down immediately, but they didn't. And so consequently, they made a mess at Malheur and all of that. Well, that's I believe it's Paiute land, no matter what. I don't care who owns it. That's Paiute land. So I don't care what the federal government did. That's their land. You don't do that. But this is what and I had to laugh. One of the militia people that were there was patrolling. This big young guy, right? But he's big, right? And this old guy, and I think, what was he, in his 80s or something? He goes around, right? And he's a volunteer, and he goes around and he checks the ground nests for the burrowing owls. And he goes and he checks the nests, make sure they're doing okay. So he meets up with this guy. This guy's, armed to the hilt and everything. So they get into it. This young guy, probably in his 20s, this old guy, I think in his 80s, but the guy was a wrestler back in the day. And he beat the crap out of this big guy, right? But he beat the crap out of him and went on his way or some such thing. It made the news. I mean, it was hilarious. It's like, yay. And now we've got the Republicans, and I think it's the state Senate that have just left. They're not that. They may have come back today. Our governor sent the state police out to encourage them to come back, but they're not going to leave the state, right? So if they've gone to some other state, and then I heard they went to Nevada, what are they, gambling? What are they doing? What are they doing? Just come back. Do your job. Oregon's an interesting place. It's diverse. Most of the liberal section of the country is along the I-5 corridor. They're in Salem and Eugene and Portland. And then you get out in our area and it's more conservative. And so you get out in the rest of the state where it's all rural. That it tends to be a little more conservative. Bend is probably, I don't know what the division is. Redmond is where I live. That's pretty conservative. Although you're starting to see more, campaign signs out for Democrats. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening in Oregon anymore. I just know that whoever they are, they need to go back. They need to go back to work. And if Tim Knopp is still in Bend, or if he's in Nevada, or if he's in Utah, come home. Just come home. You're my representative. You're my state senator. You get your butt back to work and just vote. Do what you need to do. Do what you were elected to do. You're either going to win or you're going to lose. It's just how it works. Don't be stupid. Anyhow, they need to do this, don't they? Anyhow, thanks so much for coming by. And sorry for the little rant, but I just thought it was hilarious about the whole Oregon legislature and what they're doing. It's like, come on, knock it off. Anyhow, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Check out the blog. I'm going to do the, I'll put up a Aries is the moon's moving into Aries this evening around 7-ish sometime. I don't know when. Anyhow, I'm going to do that blog post that'll go up, and maybe I'll write something else on herbs or something. I don't know. We'll just see how much time I've got today. I got irrigation here in a little while, so I got to go help my husband with that. But other than that, I might be able to actually knock out 2 blog posts today instead of just 1. Anyhow, I've been working on the one of the books I've been doing. I got 2 going. I've been working on that too. So I did that this weekend. So we'll see how that goes. Anyhow, we'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.